Welcome to CS Tech Solutions. Today is Learn Android. What is ADT? ADT is Android Development Tools. ADT is Android Development Tools was a plugin for Eclipse IDE and used for Android apps development before the Android Studios was introduced. It provides the tools to build, debug, and test the Android application inside the Eclipse. Main features of ADT project creations wizards is help the developers create a new Android project easily. UI design tools, it provides the layout editor to design the apps and interface. Android SDK integrations has work with Android SDKs for app development. Emulator support has allow the testing apps using the Android emulators. Debug and locate it help the developers debug apps and views the system's logs. History of ADT introduced by the Google before the Android Studios around the 2008 to 2013, and it was a part of Eclipse IDE using the ADT plugins. In 2030s, Google announced the Android Studios as a official IDE is replacing the ADT. Notes that today ADT is no longer used. Android developers now use the Android Studios, which is a more powerful and user friendly. Introductions of SDK. Android SDK is a software development kit. It the collections of tools, libraries, and APIs that the developer is used to build the Android applications. It is provide everything need to create, test, debug the Android apps. SDKs include the assigning the components such as Android emulator, ADB is a Android debug bridge, and build the tools and system images and that help the developer test the applications on the different Android versions and devices. It works together with the Android Studios and which is used to SDK to compile the code, package apps into the APK and AAB files and manage the app's dependencies. Main component of SDK. SDK tools is a basic tool to developing and debugging the Android apps, ADB, Locate, and SDK platform tools as include the tools to communicate with the Android devices via the command lines. SDK build tools, it is used to compiling and packaging the apps into the APK files and Android emulators as allow the developer to test apps on the virtual devices. Android platforms as include the APK and the library for a specific Android versions. System image as required for the runnings and emulator for the different Android versions and Google Play services as provide the APIs for the Google features like map, locations, and sign in. Key points of SDK. The Android SDK is required the Android app development. It is automatically installed in Android Studios as a developer can update the SDK package using the Add SDK managers. It is support the multiple APIs levels for the compatibilities and cross the Android versions. Introduction to AVD is an Android virtual device. AVD is an Android virtual device is an emulator configurations that allow the developer to run and test the Android application on the computers without using real mobile devices. It is simulated the Android phones, tablets, TVs, and wearable complete with the system settings, screen size, and hardware features. AVD is a part of Android emulators in Android Studios. Purpose of AVD to test the app on the different Android versions and the screen size to simulate the real device features as call, message, GPS, sensor, etc. To debug and analyze the app performance before the launching on the real phones. Step to create a AVD in Android Studios. As open the Android Studio, launch the Android Studios on your computers, open the AVD manager and click on the open and device managers or the click on the AVD icons on the toolbar and create a virtual devices. Click the create device and select the hardware profile as pixel 7s etc and click the next and select the system images and choose the Android versions like as a Android 14 13 and download if need, then click the next and configure the AVD setting at the set the device name, orientations and memory size and click the finish to create your the AVD and run the AVD. Click to play button and next to your the virtual devices and the emulator windows will open the simulating in Android phones. Features of AVD as the device emulations as simulate the Android phone, tablets, TVs and wearable and multiples configuration as the test apps on the different screen sizes and resolutions. GPS sensor and simulation at the emulate locations accelerometry meters and the batteries levels and network simulations at the test the apps on the slow or no network connections and snapshot at the save the emulators stat to resume quickly and AVD manager shortcut at the you can open the AVD manager anyone forms and tools and device managers. Thank you to watch the videos and please subscribe the channel on the notification and bell icon. Thank you.